Yolanthe knew there was something hidden within the mattress of the unoccupied bed beneath which Holly had produced the sack of jerky, the scent of which originally led Yolanthe to suspect Holly's involvement in the thievery. She bit deep into the mattress in an attempt to discover what secrets it held, but was discovered by Holly. Holly attacked, but not before being discovered by the others. With the evidence now stacked against her, Anterius had what he needed to convict the girl of the thievery she had committed. The only problem remaining is that in his pride, Anterius had the ship's brig removed in lieu of the bar and galley below deck. He called upon the companions to decide what would happen next. Tess offered to take the role of the ship's counselor, placing Holly under her responsibility. Above deck, however, Yolanthe and Val'faelen once again spotted the mysterious ship that seems to be keeping pace with them through the iceberg-riddled North Sea. Welcome back to Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition in New Dalancia, our campaign, our homebrew campaign. Getting a little rusty with that. It's been a few weeks, and I apologize for that, but content creation and having to, live a life can be a difficult thing to keep up with. But we are here. Let's get back to the galleon where we left off last time. Some music, shall we? Hopefully that's not too loud for everybody. If it is, let me. Okay. Let me adjust my microphone just a bit here. All right. So, when we left off, you see, Yolanthe, you and Val'faelen were above deck. You had just spotted the ship kind of making its way off into the fog, just for an instant, and you could barely make it out. But you now know that both of you saw it, which means that it's not some form of hallucination or anything of that sort, or so it would seem. Tess, I believe you had just discovered a certain individual, Bruno, was hanging out in the room that is to be your office. But you were in the midst of speaking to Holly, and I think you had just finished up with that. As for everyone else, Rek, you awaken in your room. It's kind of the first time you've been awake during the daylight hours in quite some time. Um, Still a little bit bothered by the events of the previous night. You arise from your chamber and find the snow still falling outside.
Reminds me of living up north. Rek walks out to the rest of the deck to look around, see if he sees any of the rest of the group.
Actually, no sooner do you step out onto the, outside, than Val'faelen turns to see you, and he approaches you. Ah, my friend, I've not seen you in several days. A week, perhaps?
Yeah, I've been learning all the nighttime stuff. I even got to pilot the boat just a little bit.
Ah, excellent. I hope that experience has been fruitful.
Yeah,
Actually,
I'm learning quite a lot.
it most definitely has. Rek, you are now proficient in water vehicles. I've added the proficiency to your character sheet, so you'll find that there now.
Excellent, thank you.
Cool.
But I was working late the other night, like I do, and I saw something weird. I wanted to ask, like, either you or somebody else about it. Like, this is a new boat, right?
Did you see a ship?
What?
A a what is it that you saw, friend?
I was wondering. he doesn't want like the other crew members getting spooked or anything, so he whispers in, he's like, do you know anything about ghosts on boats?
Ghosts?
Yeah.
Hmm. Though I've never witnessed one myself, I can say that I've read several books that indicate that spirits can show up anywhere.
Oh, uh, I was up like really late in the in the in the in the cargo hold, and I saw a door open, and it might have been a ghost, and then it went through another door, and then it shut the door, and I tried to go look, and there was nothing there.
Hmm. Interesting. And this happened below deck.
Yeah, yeah. So that's why I don't know much about ghosts, so that's why I ask.
I would very much like to go check it out myself.
Okay, I'll show you.
Serene, what are you up to at this point?
So it's like morning, right? Or is it?
It's about midday.
Okay. So Serene is going to head on out and take a look
You
around
probably
and
catch wind of some of the conversation between Rek and Val, but you may not know the context.
so I essentially know that they're going somewhere.
That's right.
Okay.
Here's something about going below deck.
Well, okay. Well, Serene was going to do that anyway because she is going to go eat some food.
All right.
Heading down.
Misku, what are you up to? Excuse me.
Misku's actually gonna head topside.
All right. As you appear on the upper deck, you happen to cross paths with Ianfyr, as well as Val'faelen and Rek proceeding below deck, actually.
And Misku's still kind of waking up from a midday nap, so she's gonna lean over the railing on the side of the boat and just stare out at the view and smoke a little bit.
And Ianfyr, you're not in a form right now, is that right?
Nope.
I don't know that Misku's actually seen Ianfyr out of animal form. On the ship, anyway.
Yeah, I don't believe on the ship. Yolanthe sighs. She's the whole time that Val'faelen and Rek and everyone were talking, she was like laser focused on the edge of on the horizon, but she didn't quite see anything. At least I don't think. And so she sighs, and then she turns to find somewhere else to go, and then she sees Misku and just kind of comes over and tries to stand next to her with her own pipe.
Misku, this is like I said, this is the first time you're seeing Ianfyr out of an animal form on board. In fact, you didn't even know it was her.
But this just looks like a complete stranger to Misku right now.
No, you've met Ianfyr before.
Okay.
She was the druid that you guys picked up on the way to Mekerdika.
Right.
Before you set off on this voyage, and she was helping to guide you guys for a little while.
Right.
Seemingly departed, and now has just appeared again on the ship.
Misku will turn to Ianfyr and kind of, give her a little raise for a pipe to her as a hello.
Yolanthe does the same, and then she takes a big drag.
What's the view look like off the edge of the ship right now?
Let me see. The side of the ship that you're on.
Wet.
A little bit. A little bit. You're in a sea of
Snow.
yeah, there's a lot there's snowfall coming down. But there are also icebergs just kind of peppered throughout the sea around you. So it's very treacherous. The ship kind of rocks back and forth as Anterius steers around to maneuver around these icebergs. Um, Let me see. As well, the far distance is kind of obscured at current by a fog that has set in. It's eerily quiet as well. There's not as much banter in this um, environment. There's also a slight wind blowing, carrying the snow a little off of the starboard. Kind of has a bit of a howl to it.
Misku's gonna pull her furs a little tighter. She still kind of looks like a big old fur ball just walking around right now. Just shooting out little puffs of smoke from between the furs. But
Yeah, it's pretty cold out.
yeah. Miscu's had about enough of the cold. She's gonna head back down and figure out food. And in passing Ianfyr on the way down the stairs, she'll just kind of over her shoulder just shout, "You hungry?"
Yolanthe like visibly jumps, and then she kind of puts the pipe back into her mouth and just nods and just follows.
Jumps like out of surprise, or?
Yeah. Like she's kind of on edge.
Misku proceeds down the stairs. You follow after her. Ianfyr, what are you up to?
Well, with all the ruckus from the other stuff going on, Ianfyr's just gonna head back up to his room.
Okay. So you're heading up to your room. Are you intent on sleeping, or
Maybe studying.
what are you studying?
Probably back to the dwarf language.
Okay, Dwarven language. Okay, duly noted. So you kind of sit at the desk in your room. You pull out the books and other materials that you have. You place them out on the desk here. How long do you want to remain in study?
Probably until an emergency happens, I suppose.
Okay, got it. One moment. All right. Thank you, Ianfyr. Tess, what are you up to?
Let's see. So she just got done reassuring Holly that Holly is not going to be forced to walk the plank, but she does have to go through a therapy. So after explaining all of that to Holly, Tess is going to put a hand up to her own stomach and say, "Tess can hear her own stomach growling. Tess is probably going to go get some food. Are you hungry, Holly?"
Holly kind of cocks her head at you.
Because she was inside the room, right?
Yeah, she was inside the room.
Yeah.
Opening the door, says, I could eat. So she kind of like, Well, go ahead and roll a perception.
Whoop, womp womp. I'm gonna let that pass. I'm just gonna let that go.
Okay.
For story's sake.
Okay. Yeah, nothing.
Okay. Alright. You stay here in the room. Have some privacy, hopefully some sleep, and Tess will bring you lots of food and some water for hydration.
I actually, can I come with you?
Tess does not see a problem with it,
Okay.
but you do have to sit with Tess.
Okay.
And we're gonna head to the eating room.
Ollie follows close behind you. Oh, the other one. Sorry.
Where everybody is, yeah. The little kitchen area. Where Val cooked the yummy food last time.
Okay.
And I'm just walking at a leisurely scroll, so I'm gonna go ahead and end my turn.
All right. Rek, you and Val'faelen arrive downstairs in the bar. It's actually empty, just like it was the night before.
Yeah, yeah. It was just like this.
Just so that you kind of have a visualization of this, when you saw the supposed apparition, it started from the door here and made its way down to the door here. Went inside the room and then the door shut.
Okay. So I was down here by myself, and I poured myself a drink because there's no one here, and I was sitting here drinking my drink, and then he points over at the northern door, and then that door creaked open, and I looked, and I seen this like shimmery something, and it floated by me, and I got a chill, like not normal chill, like it was cold, because I get those every once in a while. But then it kept going, and I watched it, and then it went over, down all the way down to this door, and it opened it, and it closed it, and I was like, oh man. So I listened at the door, and I didn't hear anything for a good long while, and so then I opened it, and I went inside, and I looked, and I didn't find anything.
Val you see him sort of like peeking around. He places a hand on the keg that's next to you, or next to him, and he sort of peeks around into the corner back there. Did you happen to search the room? He says,
Well,
sort of under his breath, kind of quietly, looking around.
I looked around. I didn't. I wasn't sure what to look for. I didn't see another shimmer.
I suppose anything out of the ordinary. He sort of paces over a little bit as he's talking and investigating like the corners and just kind of getting a real detailed idea of where everything is sitting. Is the room the same as when you came in the other day?
Rek looks around. Do I need to roll anything to notice anything out of the ordinary?
Investigation.
Okay. Ding. 9.
Nothing looks like it's moved. It's all exactly the same as when you came in here the other day.
I can't. I mean, it all looks the same. I don't. I don't see anything different.
Perhaps we should look at the other room, the room from which the apparition originated.
Oh yeah, I didn't even go in there.
As you exit the room, Val'faelen walks through the door and closes it behind him with a soft klunk. As the door creaks open, you hadn't been in this room previously, but you notice immediately as the door opens that there's this layer of dust laying upon the floor. Kind of weird because the other room had no such film, and you would expect them to be similar on that note. It looks like nobody had been in this room for a long time.
He looks down and he's like, I don't see any. Look, it doesn't look like anyone's been in here, but I mean, it was a ghost, so it could have floated.
Interesting. How can you tell?
Look at, well, there's all this dust on the floor. I mean, it's not clean in here.
As you sort of wave your hands about to point out the dust to Val'faelen, you realize that there isn't actually dust on the floor anymore. It's gone.
What?
I don't see a layer of dust, is what I'm saying. Could you perhaps point to it?
He leans down. He's rubbing his hands on the floor now, going, "What the?"
He's like, Val is like kind of like looking in the corners and like trying to kind of like figure out where this dust is that you're talking about.
I just seen it. I
One moment.
uh,
I believe you. Interesting. I definitely believe that you saw something in here. Of that I have no doubt, and I fully trust in you, my friend. Strange things are happening on this ship. I've noticed a ship off in the distance keeping pace with our own. But
what?
I've only seen it for just an instance.
I didn't hear any alerts or nothing.
I, at first, wasn't sure that I had even saw the vessel. But a few minutes afore, I and Ianfyr were looking off into the horizon, and there we both saw the same ship. I have yet to make my report to the captain, and you're the only other person that knows besides the two of us. I was hoping that when you mentioned that you had seen something, it may have correlated, but there is no evidence at current to link the two together. I'm gonna let you stew on that for just a moment while I cut back over to the upstairs galley, where, as you guys enter, Bogram is sitting across from one of the crewmates in sort of a silent and very tense dining experience between the two. Not one says a word to the other. Whereas across the room from them, Santigas sits across from another one of the crew, and they, on the other hand, are engaged in a very casual conversation that is mostly just small talk and the like. Bogram, as you enter and past the table, he sort of snorts and continues shoveling food into his mouth as quickly as possible, as if to make the experience that much shorter.
Was his snort directed at us? Could I tell?
Go ahead and roll an insight check on that.
Me too.
Sure. Yeah, if you're curious about such thing. Miscue, yes, he was snorting at all of you, but especially you. Ianfyr? I mean, the dude's just a dick. You don't know why he's got to be fucking pissed all the time.
She bares her teeth at him as she passes by.
What all does he have on the table in front of him?
He's got an almost cleaned off plate in front of him. He's kind of just been shuffling food into his mouth. We'll probably say that as you approach the table, he's kind of shoveling the last bit of food in his mouth, and he sets the empty plate down in front of him and starts to stand.
Can I go ahead and have Tess enter
Yes.
while all of this is going down?
Yes, Tess can enter.
Tess kind of almost casually walks into the room and states, "Ooh, Tess is hungry. Who's cooking today?"
As you do that, Bogram, kind of standing at the table, peers over his shoulder. And with a sort of almost sarcastic flourish, he exhibits, I guess, his chair or his stool and says, "I was just leaving, if you'd like a seat."
Approaching Bogram, Tess is going to put her hand on his shoulder and say, "Tess disagrees. Have a sit, my friend."
He looks at your hand, and he looks back at you, and his eyebrows sort of furrow, obviously irritated.
So now I want to go ahead and cast my spell, if you would allow me to.
Yeah, go for it.
Fast friends.
All right, let me see what you need to make sure
I
something
think he
gets
has to
done.
pass like a wisdom check or something.
The creature must succeed on a wisdom saving throw or become charmed by you for the duration.
Tess thinks you should have a seat. She's gonna say it with a smile, but staring like hard at Bogram.
Oh, he actually rolled really high on that one.
Rip.
Does he know that that a spell was trying to be cast?
Oh yeah, that is a good... He did not know that the spell was trying to be cast. No. You know what? In this scenario, if you'd like, I'll let you use your inspiration to make him re-roll that.
Okay, I mean...
If you'd like. Unless
mean,
anybody
no-
else
no
has some
harm-
effects they'd like to do.
No harm in using my inspiration. I don't think I'm gonna get much help here, because usually Ianfyr is the one that backs me up.
Meanwhile, Serene was actually just thinking about using like a cause fear.
Well, I
To
mean,
get him out
Don't
of
make
there.
him run. Don't make him run.
So is it apparent to any of us that Tess is trying to cast a spell on him right now?
No, she's trying to be
She's trying
as
to be pretty
calm.
subtle.
She's trying to be as calm as she can be about it.
Okay.
But I
There is a
will
sort of
I will use my inspiration to make him re-roll again though, just to see.
Yeah, next
There-
time you
there-
want to be calm and subtle about it, you should just ask Ianfyr.
there is
Great at
a
making friends.
there is a sort of there is a verbal component to this spell, but to the rest of you, minus Serene, probably would have been able probably would have just thought of it as some sort of, you know, one of Tess's many quirks. All right, so we're re-rolling that. Let's see what happens.
Like, we trying our best to keep the peace here.
Jesus, he fucking nailed it.
Well,
Oof.
rip
He
my
is just-
rip my inspiration.
So he looks at your hand on his shoulder and he sort of like eyebrows furl and he fine. He scoots over and he takes a seat at the edge of the far edge of the bench.
Tess is gonna sit like right next to him.
How right next to him?
Thank you for making space. Tess appreciates it. Tess thinks that
Like
we're going to
Remy logging
become
on to Final Fantasy.
Tess thinks that we're going to become fast friends. Do you mind if Tess's mother joins in on the conversation?
He almost tries to like say something but doesn't, and his eyebrow just kind of his head kind of cocks to one side and his eyebrow as well.
Tess knew you wouldn't mind. Come on, mother. And she's going to reach into her bag and she's going to pull out a humanoid skull and she's going to plop it down on the table right next to her. Yeah, I was about to ask. I was about to ask if I could roll intimidation on that.
With advantage. Jesus Christ. So he sort of like scoots away from you a little bit so that like he's like half cheeking it on the bench. Like he kind of ducks down and like his eyes just fix on this skull that you've just kind of plopped in front of him.
And just a reminder, this is no ordinary skull. It has a symbol of Kelemvor drawn on the forehead. So if Bogram is actually aware of who Kelemvor is, then yeah.
He's just locked onto this skull, and he
Looking between Bogram and the skull multiple times, Tess is gonna cock her head
there's
before
like a
acting like kind of like a light bulb lights up, and she goes, "Oh, you've never met Tess's mother before," and she's going to pick up her mom's skull and open the mouth to say, "Hello, Bogram, I'm Tess's mom."
his eyes widen and he looks up at you.
Oh, do not be scared and do not be sad. Tess's mother is always with her. But if it makes you uncomfortable, Tess can ask her to go away.
How did she die?
She was beheaded by a religious figure at Tess's old community.
He lets out a long
Thank you for asking, though. Oh, we have somebody else that should join us, though, and she's going to turn around and look to see if Holly's peeking through the doorway. But anyone else, feel free to take turns. I don't want to hog the spotlight.
Yolanthe's gonna she's busy, like, trying to put together something to eat. And then she kind of turns around and watches this exchange with Tess and Bogram and is, like, choking back a smile. But then as soon as Holly walks into the room, she, like, drops her food and turns around and takes on a fighting stance, like starts growling a little bit.
You've probably made eggs a few times. What exactly are you trying to cook?
Oh, she's not actually cooking anything. She's literally just like trying to see, is there just some bread to bite into?
Oh, sure. Yeah, there's like probably a little like crate or something with bread in it.
So while the exchange with Bogram and Tess is going on, Misku is at the end of the table. She's leaning onto it with her elbow down, like kind of cupping her hand, or her head in her hand, and she's just staring daggers at Bogram, waiting for him to say one cross thing about Tess. Also, can I roll to intimidate with that?
Yeah, you can.
Doing it.
Doubly so. If he was already frightened, he's now like an actual like fear. You notice that he's just about to fall off the side of this this bench that he's kind of half cheeking it on, trying to put as much distance away from Tess while still trying to follow the order to sit down with her. Serene, what are you doing?
Serene was, just gathering some little bits of food, little, like if there's any little bits of bread or little fruits, and then going to sit down over here and eat, and then just listen to the exchanges that have gone on. And like I said, she was like ready to like cause fear or something, like when he scoffed, and there was like that little bit going on, but she decided to keep her head low and just eat.
As the entire exchange goes on, Santigas kind of looks up at you, sitting across from him, and you're that fairy that travels with the rest of these fine people, aren't you?
And she'll look up from her little bits of food and say, "What makes you say that?" And kind of give a smile.
You don't really see a lot of fairies around these parts. You're the first I've ever seen. I'm sure you hear that a lot.
Yeah, we don't like people. And then give another smile, kind of letting him know that she's just messing around.
Interesting, you'd come out on the sea. I never heard of fairies being anywhere outside the forest. Anyway, in the stories I hear, are there actually fae out here?
No, not at all. I'm working with these people. These big
Man.
people.
Isn't that scary for you? I think I would be scared being so far outside something that I'm that intimately invested in.
She kind of, I assume that she always kind of floats instead of like actually sitting because she's so short, so she wouldn't be able to reach the table. So she like just floats a little bit closer, stares deep into his eyes, and says, "You have no idea," and then just kind of moves back.
He continues munching away on his meal. I can remember the first time I started traveling, and goes on to this kind of long-winded story about his first time being in the forest and getting lost and trying to find his way back, and there was a guide that found him and helped him back to the road, and then helped him get back to Bunavar where he was headed.
So Serene will just listen and nod, paying kind of half attention, but not wanting to be overtly rude, and say something like, "Why are you telling me?" But no, she just listens and nods while he speaks.
As he talks, the other crew member sitting next to you. Sorry, give us a second.
There are sirens rolling by, so the pupper is a wooing.
All right. So the sailor sitting next to you occasionally, hits Antigus with like a, some commentary, some just generic, like kind of small talk. Going back to Ianfyr. Ianfyr, you were given a stack of books by Kemrim before you all departed, and you've been kind of going through these and trying to learn what the symbols mean, and you've made some progress at this point. You've been given a bit of reference material as well that you're using to cross-reference, and this book is rather interesting. It talks a lot about the history of the dwarven houses, and but it of course mentions absolutely nothing about this house Balfour that you had previously encountered in the ruin of Dentherum. Which is to be expected, because it seemed as though nobody was really aware that that dwarven house existed in the first place. What you do find interesting, however, is there are mentions of mentions of like previous expeditions and the kind of theories that floated around about lost dwarven houses and what may have caused these various downfalls. They all seem to point toward a specific date that occurred around 500 years in the past. Although what significance that date holds, you still have yet to discern.
Okay.
Whoops. There we go. Before long, there is a knock at your door. That was me, puppy. That was me.
Oh, woo, 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 woo. All right, yeah, open.
As you open the door, Anterius stands sort of proudly there, his hand draped on the handle of his sword, and he almost like leans on that foot as well, sort of favoring that foot. Currently, he's dressed in a tunic and some leather leggings. His armor probably stowed somewhere, as he's not going to obviously need to wear that on the ship. Oh, friend. Might
Greetings.
might I have a word with you?
Of course.
He steps into your room, closing the door. As he walks in, he looks at the desk on which you have the book sort of laid out, points at it. Studying your dwarven again?
Well, it certainly is interesting. Trying to figure out the politics between the houses, especially with Kimrim and Govan.
I've come here to, well, how to say this? I could use some advice from someone who is more versed in the arcane.
Well, I certainly have some talents. What can I help you with?
It's regarding the mirror. And, well, I suppose more specifically the room that we have the mirror in. I'll, For now, I'd prefer if you kept this to yourself, as I'm still trying to analyze the situation, if you will, but I believe I've seen a ship on the horizon. Just for an instance, but suffice it to say, if it is a ship, we're very far off of the normal trade route. This would be another ship that is sailing with some discretion, and that worries me. I wonder if, in a way, we're being followed, and if so, I worry that it may be our enemies. With that said, I'm interested in perhaps finding a way that we can magically protect the room with the mirror in it, so as to not jeopardize our voyage, our mission.
Well, I personally don't know many, well, really any sort of protections that I can put around the mirror. That's a skill of magic that's beyond what I've learned. But
I've heard tell of mages that are able to cast enchantments on certain things that maybe perhaps to create a form of trap, be it maybe not something damaging, but even something that might scare away an intruder. One of our court mages back in Amajokia, they were able to conjure a giant talking hand.
well, I mean, I do have some chicanery creating some false illusions, but I mean, it would depend on how strong the will of the person trying to get through is. But I do know of at least one spell, if needed, that could potentially stop an enemy in its tracks for a while.
Good. That would definitely be helpful. I've proposed my problem to you for that, and if you need some time to think on it, perhaps that this is definitely not something that we need to rush. Better that we think these types of problems through.
Actually, thinking on it, before we left, when we met with the merchant, one of the scrolls that I purchased of magic was of a web spell. It was only a simpler level spell, but it would be able to entrap someone who comes close.
Perhaps we could imbue this spell onto an object to create a form of trap.
I will. It's not a magic that I've fully mastered. I have managed to. I mean, I did manage to imbue the stone into the dagger here that I carry, but I would probably need a little bit of help uh, from Healthius to fully understand how to imbue it better.
I'll. Excuse me. I'll have to speak with him on the subject. I thank you for your assistance. I'll also speak with him about procuring said apparatus, which we can possibly imbue with that magic, and how that might work. Perhaps he'll want to collaborate with you on that.
Well, we'll see. In the meantime, this studying actually has me a bit famished. What say you and I go downstairs to get something to eat?
That sounds great. One last thing. I don't really want this ship information to get out as of yet. I will take steps to ensure that the crew is ready if it is actually not just something that I think I saw. This being one of those steps, I feel it best if we at least prepare for the eventuality that it could be, or the possibility that it could be a real ship, but I'm still not quite sure if I even saw the thing. But it does definitely have me spooked. I would appreciate if this didn't get out to the rest of the crew as of yet. I don't want to incite panic.
You can trust that I'll keep this between the two of us.
Thank you. Anyway, I have been sailing all day. I am pretty hungry myself. Shall we?
Yeah, absolutely.
He opens the door and proceeds through. Cool. So go ahead and you can go ahead and move yourself all the way to whichever galley you're headed to. Ah, cool. All right, so let's hold up right outside the door there, and let me cut back to Rek and Val at the below deck. It's pretty dark in this room. Yep, pretty dark in this room otherwise, but Val sort of makes a sweep around the entire place. Nothing out of the ordinary, except for this strange dust that you saw.
All right, but from what you're telling me, there's, all right, now, if we put it together, ghost ship, and that was a ghost stowaway.
We don't currently have evidence to link the two together. They could be isolated incidents.
That's true.
That, however, doesn't mean that the two aren't linked.
I'm gonna go get another drink. No.
Oh, right. As you cross through the threshold once more, Val'faelen turns around and closes the door behind him with a soft thunk. Go ahead and roll a perception check. Oh boy. Val'faelen, hopping over the counter, you kind of watch as he rather dexterously just kind of slides over the top of this counter real quick and pulls out 2 mugs from down below. But as you're looking that way, you notice that the door to the south room is once again open. You could have sworn that just a moment ago, as Val'faelen stepped out, he had closed that door.
Val.
Yes.
Turn and look down there. You closed that door, right? Rek's trying to be quiet, but you closed that door, right?
Val'faelen like kind of turns, sees the door that's open. Why yes, Rek, I do believe I did close that door.
What are we gonna do?
Val'faelen comes around quietly walks around the side of the bar, and he slowly unsheathes his weapon. As he sort of approaches the door, his feet, you hear them on the ground going ka-thunk, ka-thunk, thunk. Ship is eerily quiet. Using his blade hand, using his left hand, he places it against the door and looks inside. He looks back towards you and he gestures, beckoning you over.
Okay. When he's pulling his sword, Rek is pulling the 2 hand axes he keeps out.
Rek, are you in armor right now?
No. He's on the boat. He doesn't want to sink. So
Okay.
Like he's just carrying 2 hand axes because they are easy to carry and they're lightweight.
Yeah, Val'faelen also. He just has his blade. He doesn't have his shield. He just has his blade, and he's wearing like some regular clothes. Probably like a doublet and some leggings.
Since it got cold, Rek's wearing a shirt and a vest, but that's about it.
Sort of peeks into the room. I don't see anything. There is a movement from within the room. But as soon as you look, it seems to just vanish.
Did you just see that?
I'm not sure. Was it a humanoid?
It was something.
Oh. He shakes his head and he steps through the door very quickly with his sword pointed out. Stop right there! Nothing. Using his left hand, he scratches his head. Kind of runs his hand through the spines on his head.
I don't like this at all.
Nor do I, friend.
Rek's now moving over and like picking up things, looking under them, setting them aside.
Val'faelen kind of
shaking it, make sure it's what in there.
Val'faelen kind of like looking around, his sword still drawn, and he's like, "Hello, you said he wasn't there. Do you hear me?"
Rek turns around and shuts the door real quick. Now he's like looking around.
It's dark in here now that you've shut the door. You remember just a moment ago there was a lantern. Oh, wait, no, I'm sorry. The lantern was already lit. Never mind. Not dark in here at all. Lantern's lighting things up just fine.
I have dark vision, so I'm fine.
There doesn't seem to be anything in here.
You say that, but I don't like it.
I saw it too. I don't believe there's anything more that we can do here. Let's go ahead and proceed back upstairs, perhaps. Maybe it's time to inform the captain.
All right.
After you.
The door's locked.
What?
I didn't do this.
Val'faelen walks up to the door. He just kind of opens it right up. He cocks his eyebrow at you. This wasn't all an elaborate joke. Are you trying to scare me, Rek?
When I make a joke, it's funny. And then he storms out. He goes back up to the top of the deck. He's like, nope, nope, nope. Gonna sit on this box. Nope.
Rek would survive the horror film. Doped right out of there.
All right, let's cut back to the galley upstairs. Ianfyr, Anterius, probably on your way in, you likely saw saw Val'faelen and Rek run by. Rek with a Rek. Are you scared? Are you afraid?
Serious. He's got to get up top. Nope. We're going outside.
Yeah, he was pretty frightened by something. Anterius sort of cocks an eyebrow. Val'faelen's probably got that.
Anterius is like, nope, not getting involved there.
I didn't think that some folks would get cabin fever this soon.
It happens when you're on board a ship. Anterius says as they both walk through the door. Everybody who is currently there, Yolanthe, Misku, Serene, Tess, Anterius, and Ianfyr walk through the door. Bogram sort of looks over, still frightened, so he kind of like snaps, looks over at the two of them, and then realizes that it's just the captain and Ianfyr, and he turns back and looks at you, Tess, with these wide eyes, still leaning a little ways away from you and half cheeking it on the side of the bench. That's where one butt cheek is off the side, and the other butt cheek is like 3/4 of the way or half.
I guess finally realizing that Bogram is not enjoying Tess's performance, she is going to kind of like in almost like a shy way, she's gonna say, "Oh," and she'll look down at the skull and hug it to herself and say, Tess apologizes. The children in the dwarf community that Tess stayed at for a while really loved that joke. And then she'll put her mother's skull back in her bag.
He says, you don't have their skulls too, do you?
Okay, when he says that, Ianfyr is gonna sort of use his minor illusion cantrip, and he's gonna make a whispered voice come from the skull and say, "Not just me."
Hearing that, Tess is gonna burst into laughter and hug her mother's skull tighter before putting it in the bag and saying, "Tess knew you were here, Mother."
Were you trying to be stealthy about that, Ianfyr? Like, were you trying to to make it so they didn't notice you.
Sure.
Not going to be very hard. This is just a somatic and a you take a bit of fleece. Yeah. So yeah, you're able to do that pretty easily. I won't make you roll on it or anything like that. But Anterius does kind of see what you're up to, and he leans in and very quietly says, "Dude."
Bruh.
Bogram's eyes widen. He actually scoots over just a little bit too far and falls off the bench and lands right on his butt.
Oh, Tess apologizes, and she's gonna reach forward her hand toward Bogram to help him up and say, Tess knows that not everyone is a fan of ghost stories.
You produce your hand, but he like backs into the corner really quick and then realizes that there isn't the danger that he previously perceives and reaches up and...
Tess promises, even if you do passive natural means, Tess will not harvest your skull. Tess is not attached to you like that. Does that comfort you?
You set out to be a counselor, and you were just fucking this guy up mentally.
Well, you know, Tess never said that she is a professional at being a counselor. All she did was offer to help as best she could.
He, looking... Can I go now?
As long as you promise to go straight to your room.
Yes. And he just kind of storms out of the room very quickly and runs down the hall. You hear like the as he like runs full blast down the hallway.
She's gonna grin and say, Tess thinks that this counseling is going to work out perfectly.
Anterius moving around you to the side.
Well, so before Anterius moved around, Ianfyr is going to kind of look at him and be like, what? Dude was a dick.
Anterius kind of moves around, or kind of squeezes by Tess after he shrugs at you, and as he sits down next to you, Tess, he says, that seems to be going well.
Tess agrees. Bogram and Tess will be best friends in no time, and then she's gonna kind of elbow Holly and say, just like us, right?
Holly is kind of mortified by everything that just happened, but is still sitting next to you nonetheless. What's that?
Now that Miska doesn't have anyone to stare daggers through anymore, she'll stand up straight, stretching her back, exhale a big cloud of smoke, and just say, good riddance. She's gonna try and find a food scrap, like some bread or something nearby, and go sit in the corner on the ground.
Holly kind of, under her breath, says, maybe the plank would have been better.
Oh, only if you know how to swim really good, right?
She looks at you again.
Well, Tess does find comfort in death. So if Holly sees that dying is better than hanging out with Tess, then Tess cannot disagree. He needs a moment to recollect himself.
Oh boy. Tess just sequentially traumatizing each person on this ship, just one at a time.
Well, that's what we get for appointing her as ship's counselor.
Emotional damage.
We're talking about healing through disturbance. Exposure therapy, if you would.
Who is cooking? Ianfyr is cooking? How can this be?
Yolanthe is literally just standing there with a piece of bread in her hand, just watching all this with her mouth hanging open. Just like, what? She kind of looks down at her bread and thinks for a second, and to no one in particular is just like, I guess I don't know what a counselor is.
Tess has never even seen a counselor, so Tess is just guessing.
Anterius grabs a few ingredients and starts to cook up some food. You see eggs, you probably see some sort of vegetable that he tosses into the pot. Starts frying these things up. Ianfyr, what are you doing? You just gonna stand in the doorway?
I'm just gonna grab some stuff to snack on.
What kind of stuff? There's all sorts of food in here, in various crates.
Probably any of the fruits or berries or anything.
All right. Grab a few fruits and probably a handful of berries. You load it all onto a plate or in a bowl. Probably a bowl would be better. All right. So Serene Santigus finishes his story, and that whole thing just happened as well. Are you taking any actions here?
Serene is just kind of like, we should stop. We'll stop paying attention to everything else once everything started happening with Ianfyr's spell and him getting like so scared and everything. So she started paying attention to that. So was he like talking to Serene like during that whole time when the other stuff was going on?
Who?
Or did he?
Oh, Santigus?
Santigus.
Yeah.
He probably stopped right when the captain came in. This story probably ended right when the captain came in.
Okay, so he's no longer talking to her right now, though, right?
That's right. Yeah, now he's stuffing his face again.
Okay. Serene is just going to, now that everything has calmed down, just kind of like look around and just kind of survey and, and just continue eating.
As you sit there, Santigus leans over the table again, says, "What about you? You have any stories? Bet Fairy's got tons of interesting stories."
So she's gonna kind of like look at him, like with her eyes kind of squinted, and say, "Why do you want to know my stories?" And I want to roll like because she doesn't like trust people, so I want to roll something.
What are you trying to do?
I'm trying to like she wants to decide like why he's like talking to her and asking her things.
That would be an insight check.
Insight? Okay. So I want to roll that, and because she doesn't trust, so she's like, why are you talking to me? Why do you want to know this? So let me do that.
Despite your better judgment, he actually seems to be pretty sincere in this case. Like he is just sincerely trying to make conversation and learn more about you and fairies in general. Like he seems curious and not at all
Deceitful.
deceitful in any way,
Okay.
as far as you can tell.
Yeah. So she's like, what kind of stories?
Well, whatever you're willing to tell. Everybody's got a story.
She's like,
You ever play any tricks on travelers? I always hear fairies playing tricks on travelers. Maybe
And she
you
says,
don't like travelers. I don't know.
She says, of course, we have to keep the fun somehow. Turning someone's feelings of love to hate, those are fun.
You actually done that?
Not myself, but we do those things. And she like just
friend
kind of
thing then, huh?
you could say that. And she like just like is kind of like tilting her head kind of from side to side as though she's like, how do I make this words to someone who's not a fairy? But she says, yeah, changing weather, some do that. I like to spook horses. And just kind of like shrugs and laughs a little.
Changing the weather, huh? That one's interesting. I remember one time, me and a buddy of mine, we had a friend we were staying with out in Bunavar, and he tells a story about how him and his friend put a bucket of water like up on top of the door, kind of wedged so that when it was opened, it would fall down on the guy, and he totally fell for it. And they had a good laugh about the whole thing. And then, they were nice and got the guy some new clothes.
She nods. And how long are his stories? Are they like very involved?
They're pretty detailed. They're pretty long-winded.
Yeah. And so she says, you like words.
Stories are always fun. Kind of take mind off where we are, dangers that are out there. Feel like at any moment we could just run into one of these icebergs, Ooh, I can't think about dying right now. I want to get this done, get my money, and get back to my family.
She nods, resisting the urge to like somehow make him think about death.
He actually just starts on his own, talking about how he's got a sister who is living in Shopabin, and just kind of goes on with details.
So is he like making himself like more scared as he goes?
No, not at all. It takes his mind completely off it, and he just kind of goes on about his sister, on and on and on and on and on.
So Serene just looks at him, does like a little laugh to herself, thinking again that this big person really likes to make words, and goes like back to eating so she doesn't have to, like ask other questions or something like that.
He talks about how his sister, who lives in Shopabin, he keeps kind of repeating that as well. She would frequent the Mages College there, and starts to talk about this really huge building with a great library built into it that a lot of the people frequent. They have a lot of wizards and tricksters that come through, and street magicians and things like that. He calls them tricksters. Still, though, ain't never seen no fairy.
And she
that
says,
place in the middle of the woods.
She says, have you been looking for fairies?
I've traveled quite a ton. You read stories, you hear stories from other passersby about
But are
fae
you looking for fairies? And she like kind of squints.
I never really thought about it that way. I suppose I haven't been.
And she says, there you go.
Go back to Val'faelen and Rek up on the upper deck. Val'faelen. Rek.
Nope. There's a ghost down there. I ain't even playing.
Nope.
There's a ghost.
I'm definite that I saw it too. You hear this as you come up above deck, Ianfyr.
Oh, she looks over and she says, "Oh," and comes over to Val and offers him a hit of the pipe.
Thank you. I could use it. And he takes a long puff. Smoke billowing from his nose. Handing the pipe back to you, Ianfyr, he says to you, Rek, I'm definite that I saw it too.
She's about to offer the pipe to Rek too, and then she stops and she says, "You saw the ship again?"
Ah, yes, the ship. No, but we believe there is some sort of spirit, perhaps, downstairs.
A spirit.
Indeed.
Going around, opening doors, and locking, making dust, not dust, cleaning. No.
She looks really skeptically from one to the other and then just says, "Are you sure it wasn't just somebody wearing a mask to scare you?"
You have never seen Rek so, like, visibly haunted by anything.
Wait, has Rek ever seen you? Oh yeah, never mind.
Yeah, Rek's seen Ianfyr before.
On the ship?
Oh, now that you mention it, no. You hadn't seen Ianfyr.
He's too rattled by the ghost.
He was pretty rattled. But yeah, now that you're in the midst of conversation, you're like, wait a minute, who are you?
What? Huh? Where you been hiding?
She kind of blinks at him for a second and then looks down and she's like, "Oh, right. You
Come to
probably
think
knew
of
me
it-
as a cat."
Come to think of it, you haven't
Maybe a
seen
dog.
Rek in about a week.
She squints her eyes. She's like, "Where have you been hiding?"
In my room. And at night.
From the ghost?
Not until now.
Well, thinking about it, because Rek talked with Ianfyr in their animal form, would he have recognized the voice of Ianfyr?
No.
Because it would have still been like barks and yaps.
Yes, that's right.
Ow! Ianfyr kind of looks and she's like, "I want to go see this ghost. Where was it?"
Rek looks at Val and is like, it's never.
What if I go with you?
Ianfyr packs her pipe back up into her cloak and she's like, "Come on then."
To the mystery machine.
Well, she like 1000% doesn't believe there's an actual ghost, so she's just like, "Let's go see what this quote unquote ghost is."
Ianfyr turns into Scooby-Doo.
I should.
Front row wreck.
Ship's haunted.
You follow the two of them as they proceed down to the lower deck, galley and bar.
Hey, what's that? Beside the door.
Beside the door? Oh, that is a cat.
Is that
It's,
same cat?
That's that same cat, and it's like reaching underneath the door, like doing the like thing on the door.
No. Ianfyr is about to follow them down the stairs, and then she stops when she sees the cat, and she tilts her head at it, and then she like launches into her primal savagery form, just like teeth and claws going. Arr!
The cat takes off down the hall as quick as it can.
And she just goes and just follows down the stairs.
The two, Val and Rek, sort of post up kind of close to the bar, and they're both eyeballing the door, the south door. Val kind of shifts and looks up toward the north one. This is where it happened.
Yeah, this is where I was at.
There was a movement
Are the
inside
doors
this room down here.
Are the doors all closed again?
They are all closed, yes.
I wasn't even holding down my button. Yolanthe kind of cautiously comes up to the door, and she kind of sniffs at it, and then she's like, oh, wait, hold on. And she touches to her little pendant, and she starts trying to morph into dog form, but then she stops, and she turns around, she's like, to Rek, she's like, can you still talk to dogs?
What? How do you know that?
She just stares at him and blinks.
She kind of cocks her head to one side. See that?
I guess.
Maybe I'll wait then. And she reaches over to open the door.
Opening the door, there is a lantern that's lit that illuminates the room, but there doesn't seem to be anything inside.
She pokes her head in and kind of looks around, and then kind of slowly shuffles inside. And she's just kind of like looking around at all the stuff in here. She's like, well, it's a mess in here.
Val'faelen does not say a word at this point, and you know that feeling when you're in a place that you're not necessarily supposed to be, like out of context? Like being
like
in an
somewhere
empty
that-
park. What's up?
like somewhere where you're not supposed to be because you'll get into trouble, or somewhere where you might get hurt?
No, like neither. Like somewhere that you're just not supposed to be out of, like it feels weird to be in out of context. Like, you know, an empty parking lot at night. Like there's nothing wrong with you being there, and maybe it does give you kind of the sense of danger. But like honestly, like you're like it's not that you're not supposed to be there, it's that it's weird to be there out of context. You know, like maybe a school at night, or
Like a
an
store
empty
after
hotel.
hours.
Oh,
Yeah, or a
like it
store
just
after hours.
like just because it winds up looking different than its normal, than the way you normally see it, it's kind of like unsettling.
Right.
Okay.
What do they call that? A liminal space.
Sorry. So she kind of comes over to this pile of boxes and kicks at it a little bit, and kind of rattles this box of whatever the hell these are, zucchinis.
Go ahead and roll an investigation check. And those are pickles.
Ooh, she picks one up and eats it. What did you tell me to roll?
What's up?
Investigation?
Yeah, investigation.
Oof. Can I at least tell they're pickles?
Oh,
Nah, those are cucumbers.
Actually, the investigation check was just to kind of investigate the entire room. I just wanted to get a sense
Oh,
of how deep
yeah,
the
I know.
investigation
I
you're
was
doing.
making a joke because it's really, really low.
You get distracted by the pickles.
I do. I pick one up and go, oh, God. Crunch, crunch, crunch.
Suddenly, the door slams shut and the light goes out.
Val?
You hear a at the door. I can't get it open.
Yolanthe's gonna kind of start slowly approaching the door to try and talk to him through it and be like, what do you mean you can't get it open? Didn't you close it?
No, I wouldn't do that. He, you see the door sort of buckle as he continues to kind of yank at it, but to no avail.
Yolanthe
Or, I'm
kind
sorry, not
of...
yank, but like push at it.
Oh. Yeah, Yolanthe kind of backs up a little bit, and she's pulling her arms around her and like looking around a little bit like, that's not good.
Rek jumps up from the bar. He's like, "Get away from the door!"
Val'faelen immediately takes a step back and lets go of the door.
I charge it.
Oh, no.
Go ahead and roll a strength check.
I'm gonna use my charger action.
Can I just,
So-
like, while Rek is doing this, can I just say that Iolanthe is already trying to turn into a rat to just squeeze under the door?
Okay, yeah, that's fine. Are you going to... Let me allow him to make his action, because his is bonus, and then I'll let you make your action just after that.
Okay.
Go ahead and roll a dexterity save for me, Rek. All right.
All right.
As you charge into the door, the door suddenly just springs open in front of you, and you go kind of tearing through the other side. Just before hitting the stack of crates, though, you catch yourself and you stop and turn around to see a translucent figure standing on the other side of the doorway.
Fling an axe at it.
Iolanthe, do you still want to transform?
Iolanthe was about to start turning into a rat when the door suddenly flung open and Rek came charging in, so she lets out this, like, really weird-sounding squeal, and then, like, she sees the apparition and immediately hunches down, and, like, her wolf eye glows and her pendant glows, and she starts trying to turn into a dire wolf.
Okay, actually, Rek, go ahead and make your attack roll with your hand axe. You're throwing a hand axe at it, right?
Yep. No.
No.
Dink. 10.
Actually, your hand axe, like moves directly for this thing's face, but no, like just before it hits, it's gone. Your axe gets stuck in the wall, right next to the lantern. Iolanthe, as you're looking at that, as both of your attentions are turned to that axe, and no sooner does that axe stick in the wall than the flame flickers back on in the lantern.
Rek looks over and like, "Get out."
Is he talking to me or the ghost?
You.
Oh.
Val'faelen walks forward and he kind of like holds the door this time.
Nah, I can't get out.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. Rek, are you also coming?
Yep.
The door closes again.
Goes over to the door, yanks out his axe, and then steps into the other room.
As soon as you step into the other room, the door slams shut behind you.
Told you, ship's haunted.
But Val actually like jumps when that door slams, like he physically like jumps. I think this should be reported to the captain immediately.
Has he ever seen a ghost?
How are you asking? In character, or is this a DM question?
In character.
Oh, okay. I do not know. We've never spoke on the subject. At any rate, I think I'd feel more comfortable at being above deck right now. What say you?
I think I'll hang back here and maybe do a little bit of sniffing.
I see. Well, in that case, I suppose I could do with a pint. Perhaps it'll take the edge off. Without even slipping over or stepping over the bar, he grabs those 2 mugs that he had previously and pours the stout into them. Places one in front of you, Rek.
Thank you.
He drinks about half his in one go.
Rek does the same.
Let me cut back to the upstairs galley. Anterius finishes up cooking, turns around, and brings over several plates, setting them before everyone who has not yet eaten. So, Tess, Holly. He sets down a plate for himself just across from Holly. Misku, Ianfyr, are you hungry?
I've got my fruit with me. I think I should be good.
Miscu cracks a grin. I could always eat a little more.
He places a plate down for you, Misku, and with the rest of it, he sort of leaves it atop one of the crates. The other crew will, no doubt, come in and want some food later. Just kind of, actually, he kind of just sets it on the table in various places where there's room and takes a seat. Anterius kind of looks around the room, starts to eat.
What kind of food is this?
It's like eggs and some fried vegetables.
Oh, okay. Tess is going to slowly pick at her food, but she's not going to eat the entire plate. She's just kind of slowly eating.
Anterius looks up and his face grows concerned, and he says, Tess, are you okay?
Oh yes, Tess is just a little tired. We'll probably finish eating the rest of my food in my office.
I see. It's unlike you not to have an appetite.
Tess can definitely pin the blame on lack of sleep lately.
I understand.
It is hard to get used to sleeping while you constantly feel like you're shifting or floating.
It's true. I remember my first time on sea. I have to admit, I didn't handle it so elegantly as you. I threw up on one of the other sailors, actually.
Tess is just gonna laugh at that. Say, apologies, that's embarrassing.
It was. But they took it out on me on the next day during my duty shift. Extra work, you know how it is. I always figured I'd run a ship with more understanding than that.
Tess thinks that this current crew is very understanding, if it helps.
Well, thank you. When I put word out that I was looking for sailors and I started interviewing all these folks, I kind of handpicked this crew thinking that they would most likely get along. Of course, Bogram and his lot came on right at the end. We were sort of desperate at that point. I have to admit, I partially regret the having to bring them aboard. However, his companions have been good sailors, hard workers, honest, seems. Just Bogram. He's always angry.
Bogram's got the pretty tough outer shell. Just give him some time.
I trust you. Frankly, he intimidates the rest of the crew. Kind of feel bad for the little one, Adam.
Tess has to agree, but she'll get to the bottom of it. Holly, are you almost finished eating?
Holly has not touched her food. She sort of like picks at it, but doesn't actually like put anything in her mouth. At one point, you think you see her like take a bite off of her fork, but you actually realize that there was nothing on the fork in the first place. She like feigned it.
Perhaps you would prefer to eat in your room instead?
Yeah, my room's fine.
Well, if you would excuse us, Tess is going to also pick up her food and kind of nod in farewell to everyone so she can escort Holly back to her room.
Anterius nods. At that point, Santigas kind of scoots over on the bench and says, "Now look, Adam's good people." "Oh, I've no doubt of that. Ain't fair what Bogram's doing to him." Not him, to be clear. Kind of hard to see without the lips, but... At one time, he starts telling a story about they were all on... it was like just the other day that it was raining and the ship was kind of weaving through these icebergs that like he almost fell over, and like Adam helped him out and grabbed the rope and secured it for him.
Yes, Tess
And
is
he goes
going
into great
to.
detail.
I guess Tess is going to hear this on her way out the door with Holly.
That's right.
I need to move my character. There we go.
Tess opens the door. Tess closes the
Yep.
door. Tess opens the door. Tess locks the door. Tess opens the door. Tess locks the door while it's open.
Tess might be part cat.
I believe it's this room.
That is right. Holly goes into the room and proceeds to the table where she sits down, and instead of eating her food, she kind of stares at you over her shoulder.
That's not awkward at all. Well, you two have a good night.
Bogram is like... He's got like his blanket over his head, and he's like laying down like with his blanket completely covering him.
Tess is gonna go ahead and shut the door. I need a few minutes to look through my spells real quick. If anyone else has anything they want to do.
He's
So
like visibly shivering. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So at the mention of Bogram and Adam and the conversation going on, Misku, after taking a long drag off her pipe and exhaling, will chime in. If Bogram can't stop picking on people smaller than him, he's gonna find himself in the ocean. And that's directed towards Anterius and Santigas.
Anterius kind of thinks on it a moment and says, "To be quite frank, I don't know what we're going to do with him if he does start a physical altercation. But we're not throwing anybody overboard. or killing them otherwise. We can restrain him, we can imprison him until we get to Shopabin. Let the authorities handle him from there, but till then, he stays alive and he stays healthy. Is that understood?
Misku just kind of gives a grimace and goes back to eating her food.
Ianfyr is going to give a big dramatic sigh. Take all the fun out of it.
I'm not going to have murder aboard my ship, even if it is a criminal. Although, admittedly, part of me wishes I hadn't done away with the brig.
Out of character, but to be fair, if they throw him off the ship, technically,
He would still be
It's the
alive.
water that
Yeah.
killed him.
I didn't murder no one.
But that's another, I think, philosophical debate. Back downstairs. Or actually, before we cut back downstairs, Serene, what are you doing during all of this?
So Serene finishes eating, and she's going to go ahead and leave. I was wondering what time of day it is now. Like,
We're gonna say late afternoon.
okay.
Evening
So-
should be arriving in just a few hours.
Okay. So Serene is going to be finished eating, so she's going to head out and head back to the top and probably watch the sunset. I'm not sure which way's which.
If you go north, it is to the forward bow of the ship. If you go to the south, that is the aft portion of the ship.
Okay.
Pretty much all around you at this point are icebergs just kind of floating in the water. Some very, very large, some insignificantly sized compared to the size of the vessel. So kind of floating ice all about. The fog seems to have gotten seems to have receded a bit since the since about the afternoon.
Okay. So
Otherwise,
Serene
the
is...
sun's out, and
Okay, yeah. Serene is going to just kind of chill against the side, taking in the scenery, and take some like mental images so she can maybe sketch some more.
go ahead and roll a perception check. For just a moment, you see what looks to be a ship off in the distance, just between a couple of icebergs. But as you look up to get a better look at it, it vanishes into the fog.
Okay, does it look like a very physical ship?
Yes.
Okay. And so like maybe like an iceberg or two go by and then it's gone.
More like you looked up and it was like fading into the fog, just out of your sight range. It looked like you could see you got a view of the rear sail on it, and it did look like they had run up colors.
Okay, and how close was it? Was it close enough that I could see like people, or was it like very in the distance and I could just make out that there was a ship there?
It was quite in the distance. You could just barely make out there was a ship there. In fact, it almost seemed like you might have it might have been something that your mind put there. But the image was very real.
So she's gonna blink a few times, and then I think all my sketchy stuff is in the room. So she's actually gonna go to her room so she can draw the ship. Because as far as she was expecting, you know, and she's never been on the ocean before, there wouldn't really be like she doesn't know like how many ships there are in the world, you know. So she's like, weird, another ship.
Okay, so you're going to try to draw the scene just as you've seen it?
Yeah. And then leave the window open so she can try to see if she sees it again.
Okay. One moment, if you please. After about half an hour, you're able to sketch roughly what you saw. Go ahead and roll really quick. What is this going to be? Roll a wisdom check for me.
Okay.
Okay. So yes, after about 30 minutes, you are able to produce an image of the ship. As best you can remember it, you couldn't recall some of the finer details, like what the flag at the top looked like. Just that there was a flag and it was colored in some way. You can't remember the color though. What you have is a black and white image that you have produced using whatever method of your choice that you have, whether it be ink or charcoal or other.
Can I actually use my inspiration to try that again?
Yeah. Yes, you can.
Okay. Okay. Let me try that one more time. Hopefully it's better. All right. Let me try that. Oh, it was worse. Okay. Never mind.
It's okay. The result is the same, however.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, with that is all the time that we've got for today. We will continue this next time. Be sure to tune in every Sunday, 5 to 7 p.m. here on the VGpunx channel for New Dalancia, our Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition campaign. I'm your most gracious DM, VGpunx, and we are signing off. Keep a song in your heart.
Bye.